I'm your host, Sharada Devi, of the Born to Be Free podcast that serves as a bridge between the ancient and the new era, a confluence of opposites where all is seen as sacred and every experience is meant to catapult you into your supreme destiny. Welcome, everyone. I am Sharada Devi, host of your podcast, Born to Be Free. I am here with another very special guest, Lovisa, my dear friend, Gurubai. Gurubai is a term that we use when we have the same spiritual teachers. We are in the same spiritual teaching tradition for the last decade, I think. We have become very dear friends to each other. We have become dear sacred sisters to each other. She's my teacher in many ways, as I admire her so deeply. She's the mother I think every child wishes to have. How she embodies the teachings that liberate in her day-to-day life as a mother. And I know she also looks to me as a teacher. She has joined my classes and she has also joined the Diamond program, the Mastermind Mentorship program. And she's here today. And I'm so happy that she is here today. She has been part of my life for now all these years. I've had the blessing to stay at her beautiful house in Sweden with her family, where for I think once or twice I run the Navaratri online festival, which we're actually going to do this year as well again. And she's also there going to hold a beautiful session in orgasmic birthing. She is an orgasmic birthing practitioner and mentor. Yes, you've heard correctly, orgasmic birthing. And you're probably like, is that possible? Yes, it is possible. And Lovisa will tell you all about it. She's also a biodynamic healer. She does inner child meditations and Vedic wisdom teachings as well when she is not taking care of her three beautiful children, which are very dear to my heart, Bhumi and Rama and Vayu. These are all names from the Vedic teachings. Bhumi is the goddess of the earth, and Rama is the king of Dharma, the one that upholds universal values, and Vayu is the god of the air. So I love how she and her husband Pele, who is my dear, dear brother, have chosen these beautiful names to remind their children of who they really are. In the Vedic tradition, naming the child is a very important ritual. We don't just choose any name, we choose a name with meaning. So because that name is with us for the rest of our lives. And so it's so wonderful to see how Lovisa and Pelle, her husband, really apply these teachings as a family, as a mother, as a father, as a householder living in Sweden, but chose to move to Spain, taking their whole entourage to Spain and facing different challenges. And so she chose to join the Diamond. And we're going to talk today about how come she chose to join the Diamond, her transformation, how she became an orgasmic birthing practitioner, and anything else that is going to pop up today. So welcome, Lovisa. I'm so happy you're here.
Oh, so much, Sharada. I feel so grateful and so blessed and so honored to be here.
Mm.
You are so dear to me, to us.
Ah,
So many juicy topics.
so many juicy topics. Yes. Let's go maybe right into it. What is orgasmic birthing? How come you, for people who don't know, I mean, one can think, right? Okay, orgasmic birthing, and is it to have an orgasm while birthing? And
Mm.
what is it? And tell us about it and how you have become an orgasmic birthing practitioner and mentor.
Yeah, I mean, orgasmic birth is not like a one term. It's not like this is orgasmic birth. It's actually about the experience of the woman that is birthing. So it can look in many ways. Like I have had two orgasmic births. I have three children, three births, and two of them were orgasmic. So one of them was more like of the ecstatic nature. It was like a very, very smooth birth. It was, but super like ecstatic, like a firework, like like more like the whole thing was an orgasm. And then my recent birth was an orgasmic birth where I had birthgasms. So birthgasm is like an orgasm that you have while giving birth. And I know that this may sound like, what? How can you have an orgasm when you give birth? It's super painful. And, you know, but well, birth doesn't have to be painful. That is one. It can be, but I like to talk about intensity more than pain, actually, because pain is like I injure my foot. That is painful. That is like the body will send signals of pain because I have to do something about this because it's an injury. But birth, I'm supposed to open. So it's the natural process, and it's a high intensity, but it doesn't necessarily have to be painful depending on how you lean into it and how you meet it. And because when we're fearful and we tense, then it gets more painful. But now I took like a little detour. So orgasmic birth is can be in many ways, but it can involve orgasms. We give birth through our sexual organ. Like, so the baby passes through the cervix. We can have cervical orgasms. The goddess spot, or it's not really a spot, the goddess area. And
Zone.
zone, the goddess zone, we can have orgasms there. And the clitoral complex is, if you don't know what it looks like, I really recommend looking it up because it's like a body. It's a big thing. It has legs and bulbs, and it's big, and it's all around the yoni. So it may sound strange that one can have an orgasmic birth because we're very used to seeing birth as a medical event, and also there's like it's maybe something we fear, and we see it in movies that it's like it's an emergency, but birth is not meant to be in that way. We are so blessed to have a medical system to support us when we need, but I have had 3 home births, and I've chosen that because the birth setting is so important for how your experience will be. Like you talk about like you need to feel safe and private and unobserved.
Safe, private, and unobserved.
Unobserved
Mm.
for a birth to progress smoothly.
Mm.
And that was the reason, because I felt in my intuitions that I didn't want to transport myself and come to a new setting, a new environment where I didn't know who I would be met by, a room that smells like in a way I don't feel familiar with, maybe people in the room that I don't know. But so that was my preference, to birth at home. But I also think the most important part is that a woman gives birth where she feels safe and where she feels held. And that might be in the hospital or a birth center. And yeah, I mean, there are many ways, but yeah.
Yeah. So orgasmic birthing, it can mean to have an orgasm while giving birth.
Yeah.
Yeah. And let's go into that for a moment. Like how was that for you? I want to know. I don't have any children.
It was well, I mean, it was amazing. Uh, it was
Did you prepare for it? Like, probably like for those that want to have an orgasmic birthing, and of course, one has to drop all the goal orientation and like it's really up to the universe, and it's not about that at the end, but at the same time, you can have this invocation and pray for it and prepare yourself actually practically, right? Like we prepare for anything in life, and a conscious birthing, as I have learned with many others aspects of life, like conscious relationship, conscious sexuality. There's a lot of studies, a lot of practice that actually, a lot of preparation, a lot of communication that goes with conscious relationship, sexuality, communication, birthing. And so I would love to hear what is the preparation. And because like you say, like most women are afraid, we see it as an emergency, as something, even it's just that event, and we don't really prepare for it properly. What I see, I mean, many of my circles and friends, they are preparing because they are conscious and know that they can prepare. But I also see so many who are not. They're just becoming pregnant, and then they are pregnant, and then they're learning whatever they can in that short time. But then at the end, they're still quite delivered to the system in one way. Like, and so there's a lot of preparation that goes with it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was actually shocked when I was pregnant the first time, and what society gave me. So in Sweden then, like what society gave me was pretty much only like, so this you can use to eliminate or to lower the pain. That was these medications. That was the only guidance really that.
Talking about pain only, like nobody
Yeah,
talks about orgasmic birthing.
no,
Like
I mean,
focusing that it's pain, and not to, of course there's pain, like I know from all
yeah,
my friends there's so much pain, so not to
yeah.
devalue,
I mean,
diminish that, or yeah, but please.
yeah. Exactly. I mean, it is like a super intense, it's so intense. It's so intense. Birth is amazingly intense. But yeah, I think we can prepare, I don't know, I didn't want to prepare for pain, I wanted to prepare for smoothness. Yeah, and for pleasure. Pleasure came a little later for me. I did in my first pregnancy. I had a friend who, or like somebody I knew, that recommended me the Orgasmic birth documentary that Deborah Pascali Bonaro made, and she's my teacher in the Orgasmic birth practitioners program. So anyway, but I watched that, and I was like very amazed of these stories, because I had never heard of orgasmic birth, and I did have a little feeling of like, yeah, maybe someone else can have that, but not me. And I didn't the movie doesn't explain anything like how to prepare how to prepare yourself really, but it's I mean, yeah, it's very much sacred sexuality, very much like preparing through pleasure. Pleasure is the most important tool in the birth preparation, also in the birth room. Because, like gorillas, for example, they have a clitoris. What do they do when they give birth? They touch their clitoris. So why do we have a clitoris? To touch it when we give birth. I think that is like the main purpose of our clitoris, actually.
Let's all
And
just take that in for a moment. Like, I mean, some people maybe are like checking out right now
yeah,
because, right? It's like for those that
exactly.
are, it's big. It's so big.
Yeah,
We have a clitoris given by the goddess, by the universe, that can be touched, supposed to be touched, so that you can feel joy when there is pain, when there's intensity, like you say. Like, let's just breathe into that and actually, honor and celebrate this most precious, beautiful organ, which again is not just one spot, actually. It's not just one pearl, one tiny dot. It has 4 legs, the clitoris. Like when I learned about sexual anatomy and really diving so deep into sacred sexuality and discovering the magnificence of this body and all these organs, it just like blows our mind to understand that the clitoris is this big, beautiful organ which has 4 legs, and goes all the way down the yoni, the entrance of the vulva, and it's not just one location. Right? Yeah. And so please go ahead. So yes, we feel that, and the gorillas have a clitoris, and they touch themselves when they give birth.
And yeah, and so can we. But
Mhm.
of course, like there is of course like some a conditioning also around that, because if you're not in a place where you feel safe and you feel private, you might not want to self pleasure or have your partner pleasure you.
So like
So
let's think the scenario of being in the hospital with
yeah,
the doctor or the midwife, and they're all there standing around.
yeah,
I mean, we can do that. I could totally do that now, but it took me 15 years to get there. So I
exactly,
could touch
exactly.
myself in front, like, but that is not the norm. Like most people cannot, they cannot even be naked. Like if we
Yeah,
go out and go to the lake or to the river, I see people putting the towel around them, trying to change or changing their underwear for their bikini or their shorts and make sure nobody sees them, right? I mean, and then what to talk about being in the hospital, touching yourself, pleasuring yourself in front of the doctor and the midwives.
yeah, it's not yeah, it's not the ordinary scenario. But I did get like I know a good tip actually what you can do if you're in that situation and you feel, because also I want to say also why do we want to touch our clitoris or our nipples or any erogenous zone, really? Like the neck can be really nice too, and like anything that brings you pleasure. But why do you want to do that? Because that enhances the oxytocin. So the oxytocin is a love hormone. So when we feel like pleasurable touch, or it can also be loving words, embrace, kissing, like all of these things, the oxytocin, it gets bigger, more oxytocin in the body, and this is what makes the contractions come. And actually, I don't like the word contractions either. I like the word waves.
Waves, yeah.
Because
Mm,
contraction, that is what the uterus is doing. It
mm,
contracts. So that's beautiful, beautiful word describing what the uterus is doing, but it's not so describing of what the experience for
mm,
the birthing woman, because it's a wave. It comes and then it goes, comes and then it goes, and you know that also, like with this, with if it's pain or intensity, like how do we choose to call it? Whatever we choose to call it, either way, this experience will last for maybe 90 seconds, and then you will get to rest, and then it's 90 seconds again and you get to rest. So
and then
it's not,
especially during that experience, it's very so important to pleasure, to be
yeah,
touched, to be kissed, to be held, and all of that, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also so beautiful for the partnership.
Mm,
Like after our first birth,
mm,
Pelle, my husband, and me, we were like, the day after, we were just like looking at each other, and it felt like we had a totally new relationship. It was just so much deeper thanks to
right.
this experience where we were able to be so intimate and so close together.
Mm,
But so the tip I was gonna say
mhm,
also, if you are in a situation where there are other people, you can bring like a big blanket, like a big sheet or something, a
mm,
big, and then you can cover yourself.
yeah,
You have the right to do that.
yeah.
You know, we
Like
have
we
to
do
also,
in the retreat sometimes for the women that are or men that are not want to be seen by everyone. We just put a
yeah,
sarong on top. Mhm.
yeah, exactly. And nobody will know. Nobody will know. And I think it's so important to remember that it's your birth and your choice. And even if it feels scary to implement these things, like touching the nipples or kissing with your partner or going like not mainstream, you know, and not, it's, yeah, it's a very important moment in your life. So, yeah.
And so you did that already in the first birth, you said?
Well, we did, but not as much as in
The
the
second,
third.
or the
Yeah,
third?
actually the third, because in the first birth, we were kissing, a lot of touch and embrace, and more that kind of like creating the love bubble. And this is like so important, so important. And then in the second birth, actually everything happened so quickly. So it was, there was no pleasure, there was no pleasuring involved. I didn't self-pleasure, my partner didn't pleasure, like, but the whole thing anyway, it was like an ecstatic orgasmic experience. So the midwives actually didn't arrive in time. They came for the placenta, because I was on the phone with the midwife, and then I was like, oh my God, I'm pushing. Like, yeah, I can hear that.
Wow.
And yeah,
And
and
then he just
then,
came.
he came, and I just I said to Pelle, like, just be prepared. I was standing on all fours, and Pelle was behind me. He had been like pushing on my hips, which is
Yeah.
also a really good tip that you can do. It When the intensity is really high, you can like have a very strong push on the hips, a pressure that relieves some of that intensity. But anyway, so he was doing that, and then yeah, he came, and I said, be ready if he slips, so you take him. And but I took him, and I took him up, and it was just, also that I took him myself, and I birthed him myself with my husband and my daughter. And my daughter was on the couch with my mother-in-law.
Wow.
So they were there all the time, and also in between the waves, I would like talk to my daughter. I would look at her, and we were talking, and I was explaining to her, like, okay, so now there's going to come a new wave, and then I will sound. And then the wave came, and I did that, and we were communicating, because it was very conscious of me that I wanted her to be there, because I wanted her to have an imprint of a healthy birth, because I know that she will be bombarded, as all of us, with all these emergency images of birth as an emergency and something to fear, and something horrible is happening. We are so we get very soaked in that through movies and the whole society, really. So I wanted her to have another experience. And
Wow. And that was an orgasmic birth. You had an orgasm when you gave birth?
not in that one. I
Not
didn't
in that
have
one.
a physical orgasm. It was just the whole
The whole
thing. It
experience.
was like like a firework.
Yeah.
Like an orgasm.
And that's what we also mean, like an orgasmic birthing. So that's the other definition. It's not the like the orgasm, the physical release and experience, but it's also the whole experience per se, where there is this deep, incredible experience of the it's hard to put in words.
Exactly. Like if we think about like a sexual orgasm, and we come to this like bliss state, like
Uh-huh.
total surrender, right? Total surrender is like bliss. So that is orgasm. And then sometimes that travels through your body and sometimes it doesn't, and it will travel in different parts of your body and in different ways, depending on what orgasm you have. So yeah.
Yeah.
Because, but like the components is really this surrender.
Mm.
Just in birth, you are really invited to surrender completely, because you can't, like, in the beginning, the ego, like, you can be there and kind of use your ability to control to a certain time in birth, and then it can be good. Like, you can, for example, write down, I've done this, like, write down how long is each wave, and so then you're focused on something, and you do that for a while, but then the birth takes over. So birth is like, I you have to kind of like surrender and just let it travel through you, in the same way as when you have a sexual or like in when you make love, you kind of like have to let go of that control for the orgasm to happen, to be really deep and really um yeah.
Long lasting, where it's not just a few second experience, which is wonderful, which most people, that's what we know when we think of orgasm, right? It's the contraction and the tension and then the release, and then it lasts for a few seconds. And there is still some control in there. And then as we go into sacred sexuality and conscious sexuality, we discover that actually we can have extended orgasm, where it's more like a valley orgasm and it's over a long period of time. And that comes with deep relaxation and surrender, like you say. And so it's basically the same in the birthing process. And you also mentioned, right, the whole preparation is sacred sexuality, and we're going to go into that now soon. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm, so beautiful. Ah, that
Yeah,
was Rama.
that
Rama.
was
That
that
was
was
Rama. Rama was that experience coming in like this, like just came. He was ready.
yeah, super fast, and yeah, it was oof,
Mm,
amazing. Yeah, and then Vayu came,
and Ryu.
and Vayu it was very raw birth. Like, it was what I mean about raw. It was like, there was blood, and then at one point I just pooed all over my husband, and like, it was very raw, very like earthy. Yeah. And I'm also saying this, that I pooed, because I think this is one of the things that we have to, like,
Oh,
it's okay. It's,
okay.
of course, the body will push that poo out. Our
Yeah,
baby's gonna pass. Who cares about the
yeah,
poo? Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And when that happened, I was like, I don't give a shit about that. Now press on my hips.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing this, because like there's so much shame.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much shame in the anus, and then what to think of you poop, and then it
Yeah.
comes on to your partner, how the person you love, how sexy is that? So that's part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's part
Yeah.
of it. And
Yeah.
it can be part of it. That was the first birth
Yeah.
when it happened. So it doesn't always happen, but it can.
Mm.
And yeah, and if there is fear around that, I know that that's a very common
Mm-hmm.
for many women, that is a common fear. Then I just invite you to meet that fear and maybe like live that scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, or speak about it with your partner,
Mm-hmm.
like, or whoever you feel fearful around, they would
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
no. Yeah.
Mm. Mm. So
Yeah,
there was
so
blood, there was poop, and then he continued to push your hips, and then it's like, woo!
yeah, and then and also he had been like stimulating my nipples, and I was stimulating my clitoris, and then uh but now I really dove into like the kind of like the end of the birth, but anyway, in the beginning also, I felt, when it started, I felt like, okay, this is going to be a fast birth, just like Rama's. And I also had a strong intuition that I wanted to birth him before the midwives arrived. And this is very controversial, I know that, but I had home birth midwives, and they were planned to come, and all along I had this feeling like I want them, because I deeply honor their profession and their knowledge, and I really love my midwives also. But I knew that somehow I wanted to birth him on my own. And I had also had that experience with Rama, so I knew that I could. But so Pelle asked me, like, should I call? And I said, no, we wait, we'll call later. But I knew that he will come now. So so they arrived for the placenta. And I'm really happy that I made that choice. But yeah, it was because that was my intuition. And I think that it's very important to listen to your intuition, because it will tell you so much. And actually, during pregnancy, we have heightened intuition too. Yeah. But yeah, so back to we were in the nipple stimulation, the clitoris stimulation. Yeah, and then I had like one orgasm that really surprised me, because I didn't even, I mean, I invoked an orgasmic birth, but I didn't like, it must be like this, or I didn't even know, like, can I have an orgasm, like a physical orgasm? But then I did, and it was a beautiful orgasm. And it was also like such an amazing experience. It doesn't take away the intensity of the birth. That is still there. But it was just like super pleasurable all of a sudden, like, wow, like these waves. And then there was this moment of actually like a lot of fear, and I had to like lean into the biggest surrender I have ever done, because I felt like his head, when he was crowning, I felt it was way bigger than my previous kids. And I didn't know, because I didn't see I was leaning a little forward, because that's what my body was telling me to, the position it was telling me to take. And then so I didn't know why. I just had to like fully surrender, and I did like these horse slips. And I was like on the bed, like back and forth like this with the horse slips, and just like really like releasing any control, like just letting go of all control. And then he was birthed with his arm, with his fist first. So
Wow.
that was kind of big. So he had the arm like
Like this.
glued to his head like this. So of course he was much bigger, and he also have a big head as well. So so it was really a moment of
Ah.
a lot of fear, actually, where I had to, like, it could be that I break now, but I have to surrender to that fact, and surrender to this birth, and just trust. And I did, and I had, as he came out, I squirted. So I had another type of
Wow. The
orgasm.
amrta, the nectar, we call it.
I
Wow.
think it's so auspicious that he was born in
That is
Amrit.
it's born in amrta, yeah, the nectar of immortality.
I know,
Wow, I get goosebumps.
me too.
Wow.
And yeah, and then when my midwife came and I told her about it, and she said, that you had these orgasms, that was like I mean, you don't know what, maybe I had the orgasms so they helped me deliver him safely, because I didn't break anything. I didn't break it all.
What do you mean
And
break your
I,
yoni or the skin, or break
exactly,
like you
the
mean?
yoni, like,
Mhm.
yeah. But I didn't break anything. It was,
Wow.
yeah. Actually, after, right after the birth, I felt super connected to my yoni, actually.
Wow.
And that is also like a very powerful thing when you work a lot with sacred sexuality in the preparation and during the birth. Like, you're so connected to your yoni, to that area. So it's also very helpful after, in postpartum, because yeah, you know, it is like a little like coming back coming back uh, to sex and to love making and all of that. It often requires some time and some, but it was much easier for me when I had this kind of preparation. But yeah, and my midwife said that thanks to the orgasms, she think that that really helped me not to tear. That's the word, to tear in any way. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Mm.
So
Wow.
it has a function, you know, it has a function. The pleasure has a function. It's not, I mean, it is partly about you having an amazing experience. Why not? Why not invoke the most incredible, beautiful, loving, orgasmic, pleasurable birth? Why not?
That's what you want. Like, you want your mom to be orgasmic when you come to this world. Like, I'm coming into this world, and you want your mom to be in pleasure, in ecstasy, in orgasms, and not in
Yeah.
dying pain and fear.
No, because it's the start, and it's
Ah.
like it's not only, I mean, it's not only for you, because it's about the bond. Like, if you give birth and the oxytocin level is supposed to be peak in your life, that is what that is the it's supposed to be like that, because that's where you bond with your baby. That's when the breastfeeding like can occur naturally, and there are so many components. It's really it's so important. That's
Mm.
also why I joined the Diamond.
Mm.
I had this incredible second orgasmic birth, and I felt like
Second
this.
and third, or you mean second?
Yeah,
You mean with Vayu because it was the second time.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Third birth,
Mm-hmm.
second orgasmic.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like this is to be shared with the world. And I did feel like, I know there is a lot of shame
Mm-hmm.
around it, and I had a lot of shame, layers of shame also, about like that it needed to be released. I mean, after Rama's birth, I told very few that I had this like ecstatic orgasmic experience. I
Mm-hmm.
did not go around tell everyone, because I felt like, you know, I know that many women have traumatic birth experiences, and I felt very afraid to step on any toes, and I can still really feel that. But that's why also why I started, why I wanted to be in the Diamond, because I knew that like I need to I need to stand in my full power and speak about this, because it's not about me. This is about, we can heal the world by birth. Like, it's it is meant as a healing and empowering experience, and there is so much shame around it, and this we get to uncover that shame, and that was partly or a lot of what I was doing in the Diamond also, and I'm so grateful for that. I felt so held. Yeah.
Mm. So you joined the Diamond so that you could actually start working with women that are giving birth or about to give birth, and help them prepare
Yeah.
for an orgasmic birthing experience.
Yeah.
It's so needed. Like, wow, it's it's still so not talked about. Like it's because how dare you talk about this orgasmic birthing when most of the women have experienced so much pain. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
It's
Ah, yeah. So how
yeah.
was it for you in the diamond, if I may ask? Like,
Yeah, it was I mean it was so much. Like I really, really loved. I really, really loved the diamond. It was so. I felt like there are so many layers to it because, like, one very important layer was the subtle experience of being like, I called it like that we were flying a field together because I could feel all of you. Like I felt I could just like tap into you or to any of the other diamonds, and I just tapped in and like could get some, yeah, you know, I could get some strength when I needed strength, or some heart opening when I needed that, or like, oh, and the pleasure, and like I could really yeah, I could really tap into the field
mm,
just on a subtle level and feel really held by that.
mm,
It's like yeah, flying like a flying a diamond. And then the practices were also so deep, so like so profoundly deep and very. It all started with that I had sexual abuse in my childhood,
mm,
and that came up. That was the first of many processes that I went through. So that came up in the beginning, and then I got to, you know, work through more layers of. Now it was a lot. This time it was a lot about the disgust. There was a lot of disgust. There was a lot in like Kali energy and like
mm,
yeah,
mm,
yeah, a lot of that, going through that portal kind of, and it was also so beautiful to be mirrored and seen and held
mm,
and guided in that.
mm,
And your embodiment work is so powerful, like it's so
mm,
powerful. Yeah. Mhm.
mm,
And then
mm.
we did all the money. Oh, I mean, we did so much.
This is so much in 6 months. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm, mm.
But
Yeah.
I think if I would like summarize it, I think that it really gave me an opportunity to step more fully into my power,
Mhm.
that and release shame and fear
Mm,
around, maybe all, yeah, around sharing about orgasmic birth, but also like in relation to money,
mm,
in a lot about money. But yeah, like so many blockages that I
mm,
felt like could be.
mm,
And also I felt it in my whole body when I first read. I think I read the absolutely first thing you mentioned about the diamond, I think, was what I read. And I felt it in my entire body, like my whole body was just vibrating. And I
wow.
actually had to go outside and just stand and breathe some air. I was like, I am gonna be in this. I knew that this was, yeah.
Mm,
And and so it was.
so it was. Wow. Ah, yeah. Like also with Natalie, when I talked, it was for her also a lot about releasing shame,
Yeah.
and shame relating to money, and or shame relating to sex and to money. It's
Yeah.
deep in us. It's so ingrained. Like how dare we embrace our sexual power, and how dare we really want to have money and grow our money and charge for what we love to do.
Yeah. 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 And I think it's it's so energetical and it's so in the body. That's the thing. It's like it's really stuck in the body, and that's really what we were doing. We were releasing things in our body, and also using pleasure to create the new healthy imprints.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I'm like,
Very
I
fun.
know it's,
I would
sorry.
say it's so fun.
It's so fun.
It was so much fun. We had I mean, it was so deep and also serious, you know, like we were all working with like really serious stuff, but in a very pleasurable, fun way.
That's the beauty, right? I mean, that's the gift of our bodies and all these erogenous zones that we have been given. So if we talk about orgasmic birthing and that intensity of birthing, actually life is a constant birthing. Like we're in constant dying birthing process, dying to this old identity, dying to this old relationship, dying to this job, dying to the place. And then there's a birthing process happening. And yes, we can go through it in deep pain and despair and suffering, or we pleasure ourselves through it. That's what we
Exactly.
do in the diamond, basically.
Yes. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, so expansive, like so such an expansive container.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So nice to hear and feel you. And yeah, I feel also it's sometimes difficult to put in words what we're exactly doing, but then I can still say we have mentorship and we're going to be mirrored and we bring to the table what we're facing right now in life. And and what I see is like so many now that have been on this spiritual quest and journey and awakening have a lot of knowledge, but then like you say, like it's stored in the body, and so it's bringing what we know into our body, so it becomes embodied wisdom. And that only happens if we really do the practices, if we really move it through. Otherwise it's stuck there, and then we do still make choices based on the fear, still make choices based on our limiting beliefs, even though we don't really believe it, but we still believe it, the body still believes it. So the choices we do are still based on the bodily imprint. And if we want to grow and expand and
Yeah.
be the person we really want to be, parts have to die. And that means dying, right? Dying to the pain and the
Yeah.
shame and the guilt that is there in all of us, because we just simply did not grow up in a society where pleasure is celebrated and power is celebrated and money is celebrated. No, sex is dirty or shameful. If you're sexual, you're a slut. If you're not sexual, you're prude. If you're using your power, then watch out. There is something you want to get out and it's not trustworthy, and power is corrupt. And what to talk about money? Money is the root of all evil. And so and how are we ever going to thrive as human beings if those three aspects of life are shamed?
Mm.
So when we are really trying to reclaim those powers in terms of sex and money and the power to do, there's this constant nagging silent shame and guilt underneath, right? And so it's so draining then to follow and pursue our dreams, because the guilt and shame is just there, nagging, nagging, nagging. And that's why people feel drained when they do their work, do their offering, do their duties, instead of feeling energized and excited and happy doing their offerings. Like I see most people, they have so much to give, but so scared to bring their things out, feel so drained by doing and reaching out and the communication and marketing, because this guilt and shame is just there underlying. Like, how dare you go out and be powerful and be beautiful and be sexual and be rich? Like,
Yeah.
that's not.
And you role model all of that so beautifully, Sharada. I mean, no, but I mean that so much, so sincerely. Like, I mean that is also really why I joined the Diamond, because you role model that, and that is rare.
Mm.
That is rare. Uh, yeah. Let us hope that it will not be rare, that it will
Yes,
be a
it
common
will be
thing.
a common
Today
thing.
it is,
Yeah.
and it's, yeah, it's priceless. Like, yeah, I really feel it was priceless to, you know, I love to check in on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I think we had, like, you know, to check in and just you know, it's something also to be in such close proximity that really makes you again and again come back to your most empowered state of being.
Exactly. Mm.
So I think that mentorship is a lot about that, actually,
Yeah.
that you get mirrored. Like, it was always so important for me to get those that mirroring of, like, oh, okay, yeah, this is how Sharada sees me. Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, now let's look at myself like that.
Mm.
I think that's what you get also through mentorship, that you get someone who looks at you as an empowered being, as a whole and complete being, and then you can more and more see yourself like that, and uncover all of that shit that's
Mm.
in the way.
Shamelessly.
Shamelessly, yeah.
Shit yourself shamelessly. Because
Shame-
sometimes it's not gonna be all sexy and pretty, right? It is like shit everywhere. It's like, okay, wow, this is my shit here.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, definitely, like, yeah. But I think, like, if you choose to embark on a journey like the diamond, you are also, like, ready and want to meet all that,
Mm.
knowing that it is, like, through this, it's in and through this. This is the life. This is the orgasmic living, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah. To meet the pain with pleasure,
yeah,
even if you don't want to.
exactly. Even if you don't want to, you do it anyways because there's
Yeah.
no there's no choice really at the end. Either suffering or
Yeah.
stop suffering.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. Ah, wow. Yeah, what a journey. And yeah, just maybe we've covered it all. It's been a very deep, full packed podcast. I love this podcast. Wow, I'm so excited for you who are listening and watching and to be with all of this input and go out into the world and yeah, live, birth and live orgasmically. I think I'm gonna call now the diamond, orgasmic living, or something like that. Because it is about that. Yeah, yeah. And again, and heal our traumas, like you mentioned, through that, through your birthing process, you actually, through this orgasmic birthing, you healed your sexual trauma. And we heal the sexual trauma through diving into sacred sexuality and conscious sexuality. That is what sacred sexuality is all about, which I'm so passionate about, because it really it heals. It heals truly at the core, on all levels, spiritually, seeing that we are sacred beings, we are born free, we are sacred. Physically, see that our body can heal from trauma, like even from childhood, child abuse, right? Which for most people is unthinkable. How can we ever recover from that? And you have, like you've had orgasmic birth. And you mentioned also to me before we went on the call that actually through that you also healed.
Yeah. Especially Rama's birth was so healing.
Mm.
After his birth, it was like my whole body was wired differently.
Mm.
Even under the soles of my feet that were always been, like, very tense and very, like, if somebody touches them, it's been painful.
Mm.
All of a sudden it was different.
Mm.
Since it's been different. So birth has this deeply healing capacity. And it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. I sometimes think that I am like the living, walking proof that that you can have those really painful experiences of abuse. And I mean, I also like, we had abuse in childhood, but then also I chose partners in my life throughout my life that were, not all of them, but several that were not healthy, not healthy and abusive relationships, until a point where, you know, the dark night of the soul and all of that. But I feel like sometimes I am this living proof, and I have these experiences to pass it on, like to help others. Also,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Is there
Mm.
something else you wanted to say also? Or
No, I think, yeah, that
yeah, you are a living proof, like you
and
are.
it's an ongoing journey also.
Yeah.
I want to add that also, that it is an ongoing journey. It's not like now I healed everything, and it's a continuous uncovering. And I feel like my orgasmic nature now, I know what it is, and I know I live it, I can embody it, but I also know that there is much more to it. Like there is still more, and this was also in the diamond. I got to uncover more of that, and be more embodied, and have, and yeah, and have more orgasmic experiences, you know.
Yes. And even orgasmic dying, because we died also in the diamond, right? And it's also
Yes.
that we can also, that's the same when we talk about death. There'll be another podcast, and how afraid we are not only of birthing, we're afraid of dying. And even dying can be orgasmic, and life can be orgasmic, and it doesn't have to be just pain and suffering and fearful. It can be returning to deep trust and feeling held and supported by the universe, which the universe really wants us to know, that we are supported.
Yeah. I loved that ritual. It was so deep.
Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, thank you so much, Luisa. Is there anything else you want our community to know?
Uh, I don't know. Yeah, I'm so grateful for this conversation. It's really, yeah, so beautiful. And it's so freeing also to get to talk about these things, um and hopefully it it will change. And if, yeah, I mean, if someone is listening, and if you're pregnant, and know that you can apply sacred sexuality, apply tools like pleasure. I always want to recommend to incorporate pleasure every day, like sensual and sexual pleasure every day throughout the pregnancy. It's beautiful. You will connect with your body so much more, and also it's so good for like the relaxation that you want to like come into more and more relaxation throughout the pregnancy. So at birth you can really use that um, embodied, um, like that you have been in these relaxed and pleasurable states so much, so then it's so much easier to tap into it also when it's the yeah. And I want to say that birth is like, it can be so beautiful, and it can be in many ways, of course, and we can hold all of it, but why not envision your dream birth? Like why not invoke the experience that you desire? And why not pleasurable? Why not orgasmic? Why not smooth? Like allowing ourselves to really see that, because birth is also like with everything, we create as we create everything. And also with birth, like how you prepare and what you focus on, you will see well, we can never know the result, but you will see the effects of it. And bombard yourself with good birth stories. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. And if you want to have a mentor, then you mentor women,
Yeah,
couples, right?
you're so welcome. My mentor and I also have
A
a
course.
course, a
Yeah,
course. It's a self-paced course. Now you can of course do that in together with mentorship also. So they
which is
give,
the best combination to do the course and have the one-on-one mentorship.
yeah, exactly. That's beautiful. And I have a freebie also that we can add it in the show notes. So it's a guide to orgasmic birth. So
Amazing.
I talk about the 5 key pillars
Yeah.
uh, that you want to incorporate in your birth preparation.
Mm.
That's a good start. Mm.
Mm. Mm. So beautiful. And Luisa will also join us for the upcoming Navaratri online festival, which we're going to host in October. I'm so excited about that. And I really wish and see you like sharing this orgasmic birthing with thousands of women and couples, because like it's
Yeah.
couple play, team play. And I also want to invite you to come and share about in the Muse next year when we host the
Yep.
Devi devoted embodied Vedic integrated or vital integrated coaching certification, which is trauma informed sacred sexuality, a trauma informed sacred sexuality certification program. And I feel I want to include this and you in that.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. My pleasure.
Yes.
My pleasure. I would love it's so beautiful.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And thank you so much, Luisa, for sharing these deep, intimate stories. I know this, like sharing about 3 births in one go. It's big. It's like every time we share the story, we relive it again. But I also know every time we share it, it gets more embodied. We feel more comfortable talking about this taboo topic, and eventually it's not taboo anymore in our world. It's not at all taboo. We love to talk about all this in detail, as you heard,
yes.
because it's in the detail, right, where the juice is, and we want to know like how. And so thank you so much for going into such detail and sharing so intimately yourself and the story of your three beautiful children and your wonderful husband. And yeah, I feel really honored and grateful for this conversation.
Me too. Thank you so
Mhm.
much.
Thank you. So, well done. Thank you all, dearest community, listeners, watchers. Um, yeah, so invited to join Luisa in her orgasmic birthing mentorship, to join me in the Diamond, in the mentorship program to orgasmic living, and also any other program I have upcoming, the Nectar of You, which is a 7-day immersion in Portugal to discover unconditional love within yourself so you can bring that into your relationship. So there we're going to have practices 101 to really embody the fullness of what it means to be a human being and embody love and embody sacred sexuality and embody wealth in the most beautiful location in the Algarve. There's also the priestess training coming up in Bali, 18-day immersion to becoming a priestess, where you learn how to ritualize your whole life, and especially these major transitions. So to support yourself and your community through birthing, through studying, through the menarche, the first bleed, through marriage. Like these are all big events in one's human life, and it's so important to ritualize and sanctify those moments. And so we do that in Bali together with an incredible faculty. And there's also, the Vedanta retreat, my annual Vedanta retreat in Sweden, and the online school, the Devi Temple, where you can continue joining my programs and teachings through the Devi Temple with 700 hours of pre-recorded material in these Vedic teachings, and also lots of embodiment rituals and applied tools that will serve you the rest of your life, really. So if you want to support this channel, please subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, a review, invite your friends. And the best way is to get onto the newsletter. There you get the different jewels, teachings, tools, classes directly into your inbox. So you can sign up, go to davyschool.info and leave your email in any of the boxes. You can sign up to the Vision Quest, that is for free. You can sign up to the Art of Devotion. There are many freebies there, and you just leave your email and you get the freebies, and then you're automatically on the newsletter list and get weekly love notes and classes and ways to continue ritualizing your life and discover that you're born free and actually live as a free human being and choose pleasure. So thank you so much, and all the best until next time. From my heart to yours, deepest gratitude for your presence. May you follow your wildest dreams, live your highest purpose, and expand into the infinite, because that's what you are.